Well, hello, and welcome to the Vetly Speaking Podcast. I'm your host, Didi Gladowski, and we are in for a treat. Now, for this podcast, for the most part, a lot of the conversation is usually from that lens and perspective of veterans. But every now and then, I'm not limiting our conversations to just military veterans. I want to talk about every topic. Of course, it's going to be my opinions, are a lot of it are going to be through the lens, my lens, which is a veteran lens. But I love having those non-military veterans on the show to talk about what they're doing and hopefully link up a lot from their experience that we could take away in the veteran world out there. And so I am so excited. This is episode 12. The episode is the chef and the wig maker, all in love and business. It's for a reason, and you'll find out why. They are my first couple on the show, and also my second non-veteran, where no military affiliation. I felt like they had an amazing story to tell. And especially for a lot of military people, when we get out of the military in transition, a lot of us go into business. And I got to say, these two are amazing power couple. And you'll find out why. They have a lot of stories to tell. I hope they do tell and share and give us a lot of advice. And I have been a fan of both of them. I have known one of them since we were 14, actually age 15, because we went to boarding school together, and we will talk a little bit more about that. And you would probably hear a lot of themes throughout a lot of the episodes where I refer to my boarding school life, because it was such a formative part of my life. On the show today, I have Jane and Ed Harris. One of them is even a celebrity in my book. Without further ado, I am introducing the lovely wig maker, Jane Harris, and the most formidable chef out there, arguably probably the best chef in the world. Yes, I said it. Chef Ed Harris.
Thank you so much. Hello, hello.
Both of you, welcome to the
Thank you.
Vetley. I want to always start off, introduce yourselves. And I'm going to start with ladies first. Ed.
Of course.
The lovely wig maker, our boss lady, CEO, owner of the Virgin Hair Fantasy. And she's going to talk a lot about this hair. More, it's not wigs, it's peruca, which I don't even know what that means. Jane, tell the audience out there, who is Jane Harris, the wig maker?
Thank you so much for having me. It feels surreal to be here. I'm so honored. My name is Jane Harris. I am a glueless wig maker, but I am a lover of people. I love taking care of women. So I help women, busy women, look and feel their best by creating the most amazing glueless units for them.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll get a lot more in depth with you. Chef? Who is
Yes,
Chef
yes.
Ed
Who is
Harris?
that? Hello, everyone. Thank you again, Didi, for having us on your podcast. My name is Ed Harris, and for me, plant-based, I basically help people see how amazing plant-based food can be, how great it can taste, and just overall a lover of all things culinary and travel and family, business, and just, a rich life, and it has nothing to do with money. It's more of just enjoying the simple pleasures of life and showcasing what that can be through food.
Nice. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning, the genesis of the Harris, right? How did you guys meet?
So we met in New York. I had gotten out of a 5-year relationship, which almost took me out.
I can attest to that, girl.
Almost took me out. I was like, you know what? I'm not dating for a while. I was working this really amazing job. I was a shoe sales manager, a Italian shoe store in New York. I had worked for them for over 15 years. So I
Wow.
Zoned in. I was just in my zone running this $3 million store with a lot of pressure because I was reminded of the volume of the store every day. So I had this pressure on me. So I didn't have a lot of time to date. So my girlfriend dragged me out to 40/40 Club. I looked upset that I was
I
there.
I love the 40/40
I
Club.
It was a busy week. I was doing inventory. I was like, I didn't want to be there. And then chef walked up and goes, "Why are you frowning in a club? Who frowns in a club?" And that was the beginning of our relationship right there on the, and I was like, why should I smile? And he goes, well, my name is Chef Ed. I'm like, Chef Ed, like, did you cook and decide that you're a chef? Or
In your kitchen.
yeah. Or did you go to school to be a chef? He was like, wow, you're asking a lot of questions. I'm like, I just want to know. And that was the beginning of our relationship.
Like, okay, so for the audience, Jane is Niger, what we call Niger. Nigerian, first generation American. Both of
Yeah.
us went to the same boarding school, and that's how we met. And it's funny because I think I was one grade up. Ed, do you want to chime in on how you met? Because there's always her
Yeah, yeah,
story, and
side.
then there's his
Yeah.
story.
I mean, she pretty much nailed it on the head. The funny thing is to even allude to that was the fact that my brother, it was my younger brother, and he hadn't been to the city yet because we were living in Long Island. So I was like, let me take you out to this place I normally go. You're gonna have fun because he was very reluctant to even go out, right? Because he had just turned 21. So I'm like, I'm gonna show you the ropes. And literally, so I was a veteran at 40/40s. Don't, exit pun. Literally, I was one of the OGs there. Like, I've been going there for a while.
Did you have your own booth?
So, I literally showed him the ropes. I was like, you get there, you get a section, you buy a bottle, and then, you can
Yeah.
kind of relax, go pick up a
Yeah.
lady, go talk, that kind of thing, bring her back to the. So
Little
I was like,
Rockefeller style.
I literally brought him downstairs because we were upstairs in the VIP section, and I was like, "Come down with me. Let me show you how to get a girl's number." And literally, that's what I
How
told
old was
him.
he? How old was he?
21.
Okay, good
Yeah,
answer.
yeah, definitely. So I was like, "This is how you get a girl's number." So I had him porch on the stairs and having him just watch Eagle Vision, Eagle View. And I went over to Jane and I literally struck up the conversation. And, of course, I looked around to see who I could approach. And God willing, it was Jane that I needed to approach because she was
He
there.
was there. Yeah.
And I literally said to her exactly what she said verbatim. Why are you not smiling? Why do you look upset in the club? Like, we're supposed to be having fun. And, we spoke and, that's it.
She
Yeah.
give you the Niger roll eyes, like
Totally,
Yeah.
with
totally.
the with the sucking of teeth.
But the thing is, me, I was like, I've already told my brother that this is how you get a number. So I had to deliver on my promise. You know what I mean? So I wasn't taking any prisoner.
That's awesome. But look at you. I mean, so how many years now have you guys been married?
This is our 16th year.
Yeah.
16. All right. 16 going on strong. And
Yeah.
Chef, you're from the Virgin Islands, correct?
So, yeah.
St. Lucia.
Yep.
Nice. I've
Yeah.
never been. Funny enough, I've only been to one part of the island, Jamaica.
I lived in Jamaica.
Where in Jamaica?
Multiple places. I lived in Trelawney. I lived in Blue Mountain. I lived in Kingston. So I lived throughout the Caribbean for like the younger part of my life. So I'm very familiar with multiple islands. Yeah.
And I could see the love for food. Blue Mountain, you just said Blue Mountain coffee is what I started to think about. Because,
Yep.
I've got my coffee
Yep.
brand, Vetley Roast Coffee. And I
Yep.
was talking with another fellow Jamaican, and she was like, you need to tap into the Blue Mountain. I said, I know what the Blue Mountain is. It's a good coffee brand.
Very good. Yeah.
So
Nice.
now you guys are married. How many kids do you guys have?
3 babies.
Three
We have
babies.
15-year-old, 11-year-old, and 10-year-old.
Ooh, girl, you don't even look like you have any kids. You're like aging in reverse. How do you guys do that? You
The
know
veggies.
what? We will talk about that, So tell us how you guys decided to now get into business. First of all, it can't be easy as a couple to be in business together. That could either drive you together, closer, or apart. And so, what made you decide, Jane, to get into the hair business? And I mean, Ed, chef, you've been already doing this for a while. And so what made you tap in and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do that?
I went to the first art institute that was done in New York, and this
Okay.
was close to Chinatown. So I did culinary school for a while. But in terms of us starting business, I think we both at some point, working for other people, and just seeing, the lack of care for employees,
Mm,
from the owners or from management, right? And just wanting a better quality of life.
yeah.
We looked at each other and we are like, what could we do? Because we were trying multiple things way before, our main business, which is the Virgin
Yes.
Fantasy,
Yes.
took off. Like, I started a t-shirt
You're selling
company.
t-shirts.
Jane was trying to do real estate.
Be a stylist at the same time.
Yeah. So, we tried multiple things just to see if we could escape the 9 to 5, basically, right?
Yeah.
So in doing that, but at the same time, me being a chef, like I love to cook. I love food. I love the hospitality business. It's like in my blood. So I didn't see myself leaving it. But the place I was working, I was there for 5 years, Budokan in New York City, and it was like the best case scenario for me in terms of a job that I could have gotten, right? And just what I've learned, things that I've seen. But in working there, even with it being an amazing place, I still saw things that I didn't like in terms
Yeah.
of me passed up for certain things when I was more than qualified for it, so
Mm,
that just kind of struck a chord, and that's something that I always viewed as, based on what I look like, certain doors don't open. And it's unfortunate because, if it comes to talent, like I can go toe to toe with whoever at that point in time, right? So once that was kind of the case, and with Jane, like for her,
I didn't need any convincing. I was trying to escape because when I would come to him, I'm like, we need to get it. He was like, no, I'm actually happy where I am. It's like, okay, well, forget you. I'm trying to get. So he always knew that's what he wanted to do. And that's the part that really hurts to hear his story because he would have stayed with that company for as long because he just enjoyed
yeah.
the job. I loved serving clients, but I didn't enjoy the job.
yeah.
Yes. So I was like, I need a situation where I can still make the money I'm making now, take care of our young family. Because we just had Emma at the time. And we're in New York. You have this high rent. I'm like, I need to start something. But I realized that my edges were falling out. Everything was
Mm,
connected to my confidence. And I'm like, because I'm working on Fifth on Madison Avenue. I'm serving these women that have multiple homes, have
yeah.
I mean, they were filthy rich. And I would always, like, I never was envious of what they had. Like, it was never, because I mean, they would flaunt money, like Mez, Gucci. That did not make me tick. But what made me tick was when a woman would come in and she would be like, I'm like, she could be wearing a t shirt and just like, she's the baddest in the room. I'm like, I want to have that. I want to be that. I feel amazing even in a t shirt. Okay. I
Yeah.
want to feel that good. But the one thing that will always make me feel less than was my hair. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta fix that. There was a wig company around the corner from my job. So I went there for consultation. And they, after going through the consultation, they were like, oh, it's gonna be $7,000. I'm like,
Oh,
what? I'm like, wait,
jeez.
people are
For
paying
what?
$7,000 for a wig? That is like what? I'm like,
Seven for wig?
And this was
years ago. I'm like, I was
Is
blown
it?
away. I was blown away when people were bringing out their credit cards to pay. There was a line. There was a waiting list. I was like, I went back home and I told Eddie, I said, you know what? I'm starting a hair company. And then Eddie was like, he chuckled. He's like, but you didn't even go to hair school. I said, I know, but I'm starting a hair company. So I went to YouTube University, Googled everything I could Google for the next 3 months. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm getting samples. But the only problem, I didn't have any money. I was broke at the time. I was like, I was in between paychecks. That's another thing. I was making decent money, but I was always broke. I was like broke. I didn't understand. I was always broke. I'm like, you know what? There's something not right. So I had to wait for him to get paid. As soon as Eddie got paid, I was like, babe, I need $500. I just need to get a couple samples. Let me test this thing out. And that was the beginning of Virgin Hair Fan 15 years ago.
Wow. The fact that, chef, you believed in her, that there's something about that when you not only find the love of your life, but the passion that you found in yourself, chef.
yes.
You had, it wasn't easy coming up, right?
Yeah,
Now,
for
there's
sure.
something that you did that was phenomenal for the audience again. He is, drum roll, a chopped champion on the Food Network.
Here.
And I remember
Yes.
watching that episode and I was like stressed. I'm always so stressed out. And you know, the funny thing is when we watch Chopped, I tell you, we literally go through a binge. I end up
Yeah.
eating so much when I watched your episode. Obviously, you had the appetizer round. I'm like, okay, he's made it through the round. And then the main round is always
No.
the dessert round. And I was
Yep.
like, don't do the ice cream because that ice
Yeah.
cream maker is always broken. But you had such an amazing dish. How did you think I need to go on Chopped? Did that Zill, was that something that you were like, you know what, that's going to be affirming for me and for the culinary world that I belong here, that I can no longer be looked over in a sense, like you just said, right? The Food Network is big.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people on there is Bobby Flay. I could watch
Yeah.
Bobby
Yeah.
all day long.
It's pretty cool.
He's
Do
yeah.
you know all these guys? Give us some insight to that process of going into Chopped and what it really is like behind the camera. When you guys are there, is that an all-day event?
Yeah, of
Sure,
course.
it's going to be
I'll do my
interesting.
for
But then
the
at the end, I want you to tell us
yeah.
what you learned, what that taught you, and how that
Mhm.
made you grow.
Okay, so first things first. The reason I wanted to go on Chopped was because at that time it was like the hottest show on Food Network, like on TV.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
And
I
it was
think it still
definitely
is.
right.
Yeah.
And being on that and winning was definitely like it gave you all the credit you needed, right? It let people know that you are that guy because it's not a joke to be on Chopped, right? And then to win,
Man,
right? And in
you
terms
guys stress me out just watching it.
it's a lot. It's a lot, right? So let me walk you through like that whole process. So they recruit people from all over the place. And this was when I was working in Budokan. So they had an office in the Nabisco building, which is what Budokan is in, that whole block. And one of the producers met my chef at the time, Chef Lon, amazing guy, and asked him
At
if he
this time,
knew.
you were a sous chef.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And asked him if he knew anyone that wanted to, be on the show. So he immediately suggested my name and he came back to work and he's like, hey, I just met a producer. Do you want to be on Chopped? I'm like, of course I do. You know I do. We talk about this all the time. So they called me in for an interview. I literally aced the interview, which was just like a quick 15-minute camera interview that they do. So once I got the interview and they said I'll be on the show, my chef and I, we started practicing every day. Like he would just give me random ingredients. I would come into work like an hour early and I would just like make up a dish. And that's kind of the mental process I went through just to get ready for the show, right?
Yeah.
And once I got on the show, we got there about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't leave till about one o'clock in the morning, right? Just for that 1 hour of TV. But because the
You s-
deliberation in between when they chop someone or before that, it's hours, right? Because sometimes they're arguing, the judge is like, no, this one should go, that one should go, and they can't make a decision. So that time frame and then resetting, there's a lot that goes into that 1 hour
I
of
know that's
TV.
something you don't see. You're
No,
thinking, oh, wow, that was quick.
yeah, it's pretty intense. And
Hmm.
then, like, literally, the kitchen is so hot, right? You have the ovens cranking at 550 degrees, all three stations. You have a pot of water boiling in the back, the lights that they have on you, because, of course, it's
Yeah,
clear,
Yeah.
those lights are like putting out 100 degrees of heat. And then the
sure.
jacket, the chef jacket that they give you is also very thick and heavy. So there's a lot of things. And then there's wires all over on the ground that you have to be mindful of when you're running in the
When
kitchen.
you're running to get your ingredients.
So there's a lot of things going on. So the nerves that you need to have is like it needs to be like ironclad because
Chef, you
like
didn't show it at all.
I'm telling you, and I'm just grateful because you really have to be in a certain mindset to even be on there to even go towards the end, right? Because it's just a lot of things. You don't know what's going to be in the basket. Like you don't ever know. You see it for the first time when you open up the
Open
basket,
up. Okay,
right?
so that's
So
good. You guys don't know really for
no,
real.
at you never get to see what's going to be in the basket and you literally have just that 15 minutes to think of a dish, cook it, execute, and plate all at the same time. So you have,
Plating. I'm like,
yeah,
hurry up and get
yeah,
on the
it's
plate.
nerve-wracking because you have to plate 4 plates and they
Yes.
all have to look good And your nerves, your hands are shaking, like there's
And
so
you
much
can't
going on.
forget an ingredient.
No.
I've seen where I've watched episodes when
Yeah.
the dish is so amazing and
Yep.
they forgot one ingredient. And
Yeah.
now they do get to go forward if it's really good, but
Good.
it's still,
Yeah.
man, I'm telling you, Food Network stresses me out when I watch it because you're just like, ugh. But
Yeah.
okay. And then after you're done, and then the judges tell you, when you get to the final round,
Yes.
what's in your head?
When you're in the dessert round, it's like, all right, you don't know, they're gonna give you a curveball because it's like, who's gonna use rutabaga for desserts or English muffins?
Yeah,
So I'm just glad I was able to think outside of the box and use the brie cheese to make whipped cream, but stabilize the whipped cream so it won't melt because
it
I
looks
know.
so good.
Thank you. Because one thing they don't tell you is that say you make whipped cream or you make ice cream and they call you last, all of that's going to melt. You have that going against you as well because you don't know how long it's going to take for them to deliberate or talk to you about your particular dish. So you have to be mindful of that and put something up that's going to be stable enough that it doesn't, turn
Yeah,
into mush.
that's why the ice cream saga always
Yes.
comes into play.
Yes.
Now that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. So,
Ah,
you really have to think on your toes and you just have to be really smart about it. And honestly, you have to know a lot of ingredients, right? Because they literally can give you anything to use, So with that, you really have to just be a sponge and just kind of just collect knowledge of what ingredients are, what you could possibly do with it. But once the desserts were done, it was surreal because I had made a promise. I told Jane, I'm like, this is for Emma, like I'm gonna win.
oh.
And it was just really cool that it actually worked out that way. And yeah, it was
So you guys
amazing.
go to the deliberation room. You guys
Yes,
are in that room together at the end of everything, and you guys
yes,
are waiting,
yes,
right? So you now find out that you win. What's
yes.
your thinking?
Finally, it's over.
And
You,
it is. It
yeah,
follows you for the rest of your culinary career. Like, you know what I mean? You could,
yeah,
anywhere you go, you can always say chopped champion.
yes.
I've seen those in restaurants like the chopped champion. And what was the lesson? What did you find out about yourself? What did you learn about yourself that, you could think from a leadership realm, connect that?
For sure. One thing for sure was the fact that you really have to be calm under pressure, like intense pressure, right? Because at one point when I was transferring the cauliflower from the blanching water to the saute pan, that big flare up happened.
Yeah.
And, that was something that could have easily thrown me off just because, it was a situation where there was so much water in the oil that it was just splattering everywhere. And, even one of the guys said something about me trying to burn down the kitchen. I was,
With
but
flavor.
yeah, exactly, but I think more importantly, besides that was just it taught me to be really creative and just cook like the judge Aaron Sanchez. He was like, Ed is cooking with reckless abandonment because of the bitter melon that I used for the appetizer round, right? And for me it's I love to experiment with food, and Chop allowed me to really experiment and just do things I normally wouldn't do and just be in a state where I know that it's going to work just because that's the energy I'm putting towards it.
Sure. Do the judges give you guys, other than a constructive feedback, do they give you that? And do
Yeah.
they give you some kind of mentorship on the side?
Um,
Or is it just purely business? It's just judging, and then they say, hey, thank you for being here, and then they
so
bounce.
they do all of the above. And honestly, it really depends on the judges.
The
Like my
judge.
three judges were amazing.
Yeah.
I know each and every one of them. I've met them, and they're really great guys.
Who are
You
your
know,
judges again?
it was Scott Conant, Aaron Sanchez, and Jeffrey Sakarian.
That's
I like, you
I
know
like
what, the
that.
suit, the
Yeah,
suit dude.
Yeah.
He looks mean. Is he nice?
he's very nice.
Okay.
He's
TV, he looks
he's
so
straightforward.
serious.
Good
Suits all
chef,
the time.
It looks like it
but
should be on a fashion show.
Style though, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I like it because I do follow him on Instagram, so
he's pretty.
he's very bougie.
Exactly.
Yes.
That so Jane, what did you think when he won? Well, I mean, because one, are you there? Can you?
No.
Okay, so you're just watching it like we are.
So I didn't know that
Yeah,
he signed
because
a.
we have to sign an NDA.
So I didn't know
We're
if
not
he.
supposed to tell anybody. Once
Really?
it aired, so when we did the recording, it didn't air for I think a month later because they
Yes.
do a lot of episodes just so they can not be behind. So, I came home and I was like, I didn't lose, I didn't win, I was just like kind of playing around because I just didn't know, how crazy they were about you telling people. Right?
You had to pay $100,000.
Yeah,
You if they
if you
find.
spill the beans. Yeah, it's a crazy,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
definitely
Wow. What was your winning price
10,000.
in New York? What was that? Like 1,000 after
Two
that?
pennies.
After taxes in New York?
Actually, after taxes, it was what did I get?
It was 6,500.
6,500.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
it was,
Such,
but they gave me the whole
especially
10,000
I
and
know, but
let me pay
they
the
didn't have
taxes
to go
themselves.
through all that stress, and then it's like the state
Yeah,
comes in and says, "Hey, give me my money,"
I
you
know
know?
that's annoying. That
So, Wigmaker, Queen, tell us about hair fantasy, virgin hair fantasy. First of all, the name is amazing.
Thank you.
And then tell us the evolution of your business. But what I love about it that I have not seen anywhere else is that you don't emphasize wigs. You say peruca. And I would love to know what that means even till this day. I can attest. I know when I had the twins, I remember calling you because I went from having a lot of hair pregnant and then I remember I had like braids after the twins were born. And I don't know if it's because it was done too tight. I lost my edges. There is something about confidence with hair. I remember calling you, if you remember, a long time ago, and I said, "Hey, girl, I need this. I need to get hooked up." And I remember going with my husband. We went for his best friend's wedding, and I donned that on. And that was literally the beginning of my confidence. Because one, I'd gained weight from having the twins. I'd lost my hair and I was just looking for something to boost. And there is something about hair. I always found out with hair, when you play with it, you end up wanting to change your fashion. Depending on what you do with your hair, it's like, nope, this outfit goes better with a short bob or with bangs or with layer. So tell us about the evolution of your company and Peruka.
So thank you so much. Well said. And it was a pleasure working with you a few years ago.
And there's one that I saw you in, flaunt on Instagram. I want one.
Let's talk. But when we started the Virgin Hair Fantasy 16 years ago, the wig business, the wig market is not what it is now. People did not want to be associated with wigs. I mean, the wigs that were out then were sort of wiggy, right? They looked like wigs. They looked unnatural. So when we started, a lot of women would, it wasn't something they were proud of flaunting. I mean, until Kylie Jenner episode like 7 years ago, when she publicly talked about wigs and it became a little bit more accepted. Prior to that, when we started, wigs were something that people didn't really they didn't want to be associated with. They wore it, but it was in private. It was secret.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I told my husband,
There was shame attached to it.
Exactly. It wasn't a fashion accessory like it is now. It was more of is something wrong? That's why you want a wig. So I was like, I don't want to call it wigs because there were wig companies. And I'm like, babe, we got to come up with a new name. He was like, what name do you think? I said, well, let's see what are other countries calling wigs. And we looked at the Middle Easterns. In Arabic, it's called baruka. And some other cultures call it different things. And I'm like, Portuguese, they call it peruca. And I'm like, that kind of has like I was like, peruca. I said, oh, I like peruca. And that was literally it. And we were like, okay, we'll call our wigs peruca. We didn't realize at the time, but it is literally one of the proudest moments of our business because it formed a community around our new brand when we didn't even know what community meant. Clients were either trying to pronounce it or they were confused. So it was a conversation. It was like, why did you name it that? What is that? And how is that? And so in conversation, we got them hooked. So
great marketing genius, I think, because again, I've looked at everywhere else and no one calls it differently other than the wig, right? You have the lace, and which we will go into that, explain what that means, because I even now with wearing wigs all this time, I still don't know all of it. Okay, so continue.
So yeah, that's how we came up with the name. Like I said, I borrowed the $500 from Chef that I never paid back. I went into it clueless. I did not know anything about wigs. My wigs were literally terrible. I went to YouTube just learning, and I kept making wigs, and they all looked really bad until one day I made this beautiful ombre blonde wig, and my younger sister, who has a lot of hair, she was like, Jane, I think you got a good one here. And she put it on and would not give it back. She worked for me for a few years, and she would test out the wigs. And this particular one, she would never touch the other ones because she's like, oh, I don't know. That one looks like a helmet. And this particular one,
She gave you honest feedback.
She did.
Feedback is so important in growth,
so,
right?
So important. And she got this one and she really loved it. And I took pictures in it and I wore it to work one day. And I remember one of my clients who was going through chemo, she was like, Jane, I know you've been experimenting with wigs, and I was wondering if I can buy one of your wigs from you. I was like, well, I don't sell it. This is the ones that I wear are the ones that I have. I don't have any other one. So she offered me $1,000 for one of my old ones. And I'm like, and she paid me money for the old one. I was like, I just got $1,000 for a used wig. I would have had to sell $10,000 in shoes to get $1,000 commission check, which
Insane.
I was like, wait, this is
now I understand why you want to work for yourself. Yeah.
Like, that's what I need to do. So I kind of went in, I started making more wigs, and I started doing it part-time. And 6 months later of going in with Virgin, because I think I was making $110,000 with Marmy, which I felt with the shoe store, I was so happy. And then I was able to make $110,000 within 6 months as a side gig.
Insane.
I was like, oh my God, it's real. This is happening. So I put in my notice, and I told them, I was like, I'm out. And they were like, after all these years, what if it fails? I said, well, if it fails, I'll fly.
I love it. If it fails, I'll fly.
I will fly. I will pivot. Like, I'm not coming back here. I love you guys, but it's time to go. And that was our last conversation with the owner. He's like, what if this fails, Jane? You can always come back. I was like, no, I'm gonna fly. And that's how it's been. So Virgin has been that for many years. But in terms of, I don't know if we're gonna talk about working together.
Yes, we are.
I really wanted Chef to just quit his job and join me. He was like, you're the one that was unhappy at your job. I'm good. Not want to leave. He was working at his full-time job while Virgin, but he would work on Virgin part-time because he was our tech
photographer,
cameraman, tech. He did everything else behind the scenes, and I was just in front of the camera and doing a little bit of the marketing. So it was like a perfect team that way. But I was like, if we're doing this and you're part-time, can you imagine if you leave full-time? He's like, but there's only one problem. I love my job. So he would not leave until he felt slighted in that situation where he felt like, he wasn't given the opportunity to do something that he was overqualified for, might I add. So I think that was when he was like, Jane, you know what? I think I'm going to, because I didn't want to convince him, because I'm like, you're so passionate. I wish I had that kind of passion, but he was so passionate at his position. But then one day he came back. I think we'd been doing Virgin for a year. He was like, you know what? I'm done. I was like, oh, fine.
I remember following your journey to India.
Yeah.
And you guys actually went. Tell us about
it. India's amazing.
Yeah. India was.
Yeah, we went multiple times. And, with India, it was an opportunity for us to go straight to the source.
Yes.
And just legitimize our business, right? Because, when we started, more people were just getting hair from China, and there was just this stigma about getting hair from China, versus getting hair from India or, Brazil, because Brazilian hair was really big when we started out.
Oh, that was the,
that was like the go-to hair, that's what it was called, Brazilian hair.
Or Malaysian hair, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, for us going to India, we were able to meet up with the actual vendors that create, sell, produce, acquire the hair, and just create this really great relationship. And it allowed us to just put our business in a different light, where we can present it to people and say, well, we're not just buying from some random person. Like, we have these source.
Go to the source. Yeah.
Exactly. 100% what we say it is. And, we back that with our amazing customer service. So going to India more than once was just putting us in a place to win, strategically. Yeah.
Great marketing.
Yeah.
Great marketing because our clients follow the journey. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but it really set us apart from everyone else.
Yeah.
And I realized that the wig makers that actually take the trip to India to connect in a different category. And it created a new stream of income for us that I didn't even know existed, where people are like, well, can we connect with your vendor? I was like, oh, for how much? Okay, great.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So we were selling hair vendors for $2,000, $1,500, depending on the mood we were in, because people wanted to get that actual connection. Because there's a lot of misinformation in the hair business, which I didn't realize.
Huge.
They'll tell you hair is from here, but it's really from here. So us going there it provided our clients with clarity and transparency.
And we got to cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
So there was none of that nonsense in between.
Yeah.
But also another thing is the quality. One of the things I loved about your wigs was it felt like my hair. I would put that on and there was no tangling and I could wash it, condition it. You saw how your leadership, your business evolved from just the hair to the hair products that are required for those perucas.
Yes,
it's an investment. And how long would you say your perucas can last for?
Up to 5 years. And we couldn't have said that in the beginning of the business until clients started coming back. I've had mine I did an experiment. I put up a post. I'm like, how long have you had your peruca and do you still wear it? And it blew me away. Customers wear 5, 4 years, 3 years, 8 years. So it could definitely last. I would say on average.
I had mine for 6. Yeah, I had mine for 6.
Yeah.
I had mine for 6. And so when people think to myself, why am I paying $1,000 for hair? Well, it's either $1,000 now or $50, $50, $60, $80, maybe on the high end of what you're thinking, $400, and then you go back in 6 months and then you buy another one. And if you add that up, it's more than $1,000, right?
Exactly.
So I'm going to go back to chef because not only are you chopped, you've got knife spoon.
Yes, knife and spoon.
Knife and spoon.
Yeah.
Talk about Knife and Spoon.
So Knife and Spoon is a brand that allows me to create seasonings and spices. It's where I house my 3 cookbooks that I've written, gear like this, merch. So it's my brand for me to sell, consumer products and goods, right? It allows me to consult and just offer my services in different ways so people can get a piece of this whole brand, at home, right? So you can read the cookbooks, you can cook from the cookbooks, you can use the seasonings and spices to cook with, and then you can dress as well.
I like it. I see again, the whole messaging here is, I love the fact you guys don't have a business degree, do you?
I do.
I don't.
Business administration and marketing.
I did not know that. Well, jeez. So vegan on your shirt, because I know
vegan.
You gotta let him read it to you. Vegan from my head to my toes.
I actually, can I get one of those shirts? I do.
Yeah.
First of all, don't give that to me because we're going to talk about being vegan. The fact that both of you are from a region where you're talking
meat-centric
jerk chicken, you talking Jane. I'm about to have my Niger accent come out here. Our goat pepper soup. How is it that you don't miss meat?
I do. To be honest, if we're going to have an honest conversation, I will not dare be in a Nigerian kitchen by myself. I will not trust myself enough to do it. I won't test myself.
Even after all these years, when did you go vegetarian? First of all, what's the difference between vegetarian and vegan? And this segment here is more like from the fitness aspect. As you can tell in the military, being fit is everything we do. We make this side jokes that we run for the mortgage. And especially I'll be honest, even now with the new administration and our new Department of War head, Secretary Pete Hegseth, he's so fit. I know I'm no longer in the military, But there are a lot of people when they retire, they may let themselves go because then we don't have to run so much.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something true about what you eat that is plant-based. When I look at you, you literally you guys have aged backward. And you've got to tell me that you probably, I don't, if you guys been sick, like there's got to be something to plant-based food. So what's the difference between being a vegetarian and vegan, and what made you guys decide to go to be vegan? Did you guys progress? Did you guys say, I'm going to start as a vegetarian and then I'm going to go up and be a vegan?
Yeah, great questions. So first things first, the difference between plant-based or vegan and vegetarian. Vegetarian eats all dairy, byproducts of meat, seafood, poultry, things like that. So, a vegetarian will eat yogurt, will eat eggs, cheese, milk, etc. Uh,
Got
whereas
it.
whereas in a vegan doesn't touch any of those things. Anything that has to do with an animal, you stay away
No
from.
honey.
No honey, no
Cheese. I
milk,
know.
no
No
cheese,
cheese.
No
and
honey.
No
yeah,
honey.
because and this okay, so there's extremes, right? There are vegans that won't touch honey, there are vegans that won't touch leather because it's from an animal, right? Even though you're not eating it, but it's from an animal. And then, there are vegans that will eat honey and they will wear leather and they're okay with that. So it just
There's like
caters
a
down.
hybrid, if
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
And not only that, but it's more along the lines of, consciousness in terms of,
That's right.
are you vegan for the environment? Are you vegan for the animals? Because there's different levels to being vegan versus, someone that just, eats whatever they want to.
so it's
And
attached almost sometimes to a cause.
yes,
Okay.
100%. And then, you have people that become vegan because of health issues,
Yeah.
right? So, it just really depends on who the person is and what journey they're on. But the reason how we got to this point was, for me, I was always like you said, I'm from the Caribbean, she's from Nigeria, and, meat is a big part of our diet, right? Especially growing up, like I loved jerk chicken
I
and,
love fried beef.
curry goat and all that stuff, right? But I think what did it for me personally was just, I remember as a little kid, meat was something we ate, twice a week maybe. We weren't eating meat every day, right? It
Hmm.
was, holiday and special occasions, you got the big roast or whatever it was.
Christmas.
Yes.
Exactly. And with that, it was a much healthier way to eat meat, right? But nowadays, meat is breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day of the week. And that's just really tough on your body. But
Yes,
people don't
tasking.
really realize that.
Mm.
And then not only that, because of how things are now, everyone wants it so fast. The way that the animals are being brought up for consumption is just very unhealthy on its own, right? Because, chickens should take months to years to mature into a bird that you would then, use to, sell or whatever for meat. But chickens are being developed into mature chickens in weeks,
I
right?
mean, it's
And
not even just chickens. If you look at fruit, right? If you guys remember,
it's
I mean, we
everything.
just went, you see a
Yeah.
banana that looks like plantains. I'm
Yeah,
just like, there is no
exactly.
way a natural banana looks this big.
Yes.
And we are just so, not to bring the politics into it. This is where I appreciate the Make America Healthy Again deal,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I don't buy butter
Yep.
anymore. Why? Cream, I don't do it. So I've slowly started to homestead now that I have the time that I've retired, right?
Nice.
Where
Nice.
I'm just kind of making my
Yes.
own sourdough bread is a thing now in our household.
Nice.
I love it. It's,
So good.
do you know how many? Anyway, I'll tell you that. That's a lot of bread making I had to try
Yeah.
because Ed, I just saw your video, and I will share all these links on my site so that people
Yeah.
can see all this stuff, and we'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
But yes, and so you go in, and now you decide, okay, you're going vegan. And
Yeah.
how long have you guys been vegan for?
It's going on 10 years. We watched What the Health on Netflix. We sat down as a family and we all watched it. And at the end of the documentary, our kids looked at us and they're like, "So, Daddy, Mommy, are we gonna keep eating meat?" That was it for them.
They don't want to touch it.
So we
That's
watched
amazing.
Yeah, it was very encouraging, right? Because we watched that, we watched a few other documentaries, and it was just really sad just to see the whole process of what food has turned into, in Western culture, right? because like I think of Europe and just like England and these places, and it's just so different.
Very,
The
very,
food,
very different. Look, we
very
just
different.
came from Germany and there were so many, I gotta tell, even things as chocolate, right?
Yep. Even the
I
junk
mean,
food is better.
it's not only that. When you, yes, when you say you, okay, burger,
Yeah.
just even a burger, the meat, you could tell the difference, right? That's one. Two, very conscious of color, like
Hmm.
Skittles. You don't see
Yes.
Skittles. They don't. It's like Fruit Loops. They don't have
No.
that. You go to a German grocery store, there is literally a section because I think they know they're Americans that live there. You'll
Yeah.
see there's this particular section that they're like, you know what? If you are American and this is what you really, really need, here you go. And
Wow.
it's separated. They
Yeah.
separate it away from the regular stuff that they get. Everything from them is, you could tell the difference. And when people are making such a big stink about, having dye, I tell the kids, I'm like, look, why would butter,
Hmm.
simple butter,
Yeah.
or let's go to ice cream with 50
Oh,
freaking ingredients in
okay.
it? And I'm thinking to myself, ice cream that should literally be two
Three.
to three,
Right.
so that's another thing we do. They want vanilla ice cream. I'm like,
Yeah.
great. I get cream, right? Get
Yep.
that, whip that, vanilla. And I was like, here you go. Here are your
That's it.
berries. Scoop at it, right? A little bit of salt. And
Yeah.
that's really it. I refuse to buy, I'm not calling any names so I don't get sued or anything, but the first thing now that they do, which is really
Mhm.
good, is they look at the back. I
Very
tell
important.
them, I said, if you see more than 4 to 5 ingredients and you see anything that says gum, run.
Or words you can't pronounce.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
You
know,
know,
it's crazy you say that, Didi, because it's like even nowadays, even like the ice cream that you said, they have gotten so bad with that they have changed the name.
y-
So you don't even see ice cream anymore on the container. Like it says some kind of snack or,
Yeah.
or something,
It
like
doesn't
there's
say
a
ice cream, but
different
it can
wording
be.
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
not ice cream,
It's not ice cream.
yeah.
but
It's
they're selling it as ice cream.
We make our own ice cream too. I
it,
refuse to buy anymore. It's too much.
So how do you do vegan ice cream? Because again, you go to the store, you see a section that talks
Yeah.
about, you've got the vegan meat. One of the
Mhm.
concerns, and then this is really Jane, right? You do read that a lot of vegan diets sometimes with women as we age may not, you know what I mean? That's the rumor. I can't attest to that, but soy, like a lot of these things may not be good for our metabolic makeup. I don't know if you know anything more about that. How do you guys think of the ingredients? What are those ingredients? If you could share that.
So with the ice cream, first thing you said, vanilla ice cream, I have to be honest, I am still working on a recipe. I'm not there yet, but coconut ice cream, the best.
Coconut ice cream.
Yeah, because coconut has the natural fat. So it's really easy. It whips so good. And Chef bought this vanilla, this raw vanilla beans. I don't know, one day.
Yes.
My gosh. Like I put that together, whip it together, and then every now and then I'll throw a little soursop pulp in it. Delicious.
Really? I need the ingredients and then that way I could post that on the side, but I
Coming
need
up.
the ingredients because I'm probably going to go make some this weekend before the
Yeah.
storm away. So you trust those ingredients? I mean, because again, when you say vegan meat, what does that mean? When something goes in and it says vegan, where are they getting this from? Soy,
So,
beans?
Good question.
so okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. Vegan meat is basically depending on what it's made with, it would be either soy or it's wheat gluten, right? And you can basically manipulate wheat gluten to make sausages, to make chicken, to make beef chunks, to make whatever you would like to make, right? But for us, we try to stay away from the heavily processed, vegan substitutes just because there's so much chemicals involved in it to make these different things.
So
Me
it's
being
almost counterintuitive, health
exactly.
wise.
Yes.
Exactly.
But, me being the chef that I am, I always take it as a personal challenge to create anything that we crave or we want to eat. So, like for instance, eggs.
My gosh.
We there is this brand that's called Just Eggs that make this amazing, version of liquid eggs, basically. And, Jane and I, we were always like, let's not buy anything that's processed as much, let's try and do it ourselves. So I basically did research and I figured out how to make, I literally took the Just Egg container, looked at the back of it, read the ingredients, and said, okay, well, if I take this, and this, and I make it together, I could probably make my own version. And we literally made our own version of liquid eggs
with beans.
yeah, they're called
Really?
mung beans. Yeah, the
So
mung dal.
good. So good.
It's a version of split peas.
Yes.
Right? But it's harder and smaller and it's yellow. So it has the properties in it to coagulate perfectly like scrambled eggs. So by blending that with spices and herbs, it literally creates liquid, like if you were to beat up eggs. And the thing is, with plant-based, I tell my clients and I tell people that ask about being plant-based, you end up getting into a really sticky situation when you try to replace eggs for eggs, when you try to replace meat for meat. Like there is no such thing. Like meat is meat. Like you can't,
Yeah.
there's no vegan eggs, but there's a version of it. There's something similar to it. So once you get past that, you can't replace meat for meat or chicken for chicken, and you can make something that's comparable or something that reminds you of it or is very familiar, and then you can infuse those flavors, then you're okay with being plant-based. So that's what we do. We just basically create things that remind us of certain things that we stop eating, and we're good there.
Like I remember I was craving suya. Suya
Yeah.
is a Nigerian street food meat with
Our barbecue, it's Nigerian barbecue meat.
and I'm like, I can't give that up. And chef went into the market, got different types of mushrooms, so it'll mimic the different shapes of suya.
Yes.
So we marinated, we made our own suya mix and then marinated the mushrooms. So mushrooms are amazing because they're different textures and you can
Correct.
really have fun with mushrooms if you know what you're doing. So we basically marinated them and roast them in the oven under the broil, dusted them again with the suya mix,
And
and
you didn't know the difference.
right? Because certain
Right.
mushrooms are very chewy,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
done properly. It's, the thing is with being plant-based, it's about experimenting, it's about having fun, and it's about just thinking outside of the box.
Being intentional.
Yeah.
You got to be intentional because a lot of people give up right when they're about to have a breakthrough. And I think with us in the beginning, and I think Didi asked, how did we transition? There was like a 2-year transitional period where we called ourselves vegan-ish.
Yeah.
Books based on that concept because we felt like when we went into the vegan community, it was like, so do you eat meat? We're like, well, sometimes. I mean, does that, we felt like it was a little bit intimidating. I
Yeah.
say that, I ate meat yesterday, but I don't want to, like it was intimidating. And I felt like vegan-ish was a safe place for us to be.
Yeah.
Because we were okay saying, we're mostly plant-based, but every now and then we eat meat. Every now and then we want eggs. So that period allowed us to transition. So from not eating meat 2 days a week, it went to 3 days, it went to 4 days, it went to not at all. So
Yeah.
one thing that you talk about that I love is giving people grace in that period. Because just because you ate meat, okay, I've been plant-based for 30 days and today I ate meat, oh, it's all thrown away. No, you can still go back as long as you keep on and get back on the horse and keep going if you want to be more plant-based. So
I wish I had met you when I did that. I mean, like I didn't do vegan. I did vegetarian for 6 months. I lost 12 pounds. I felt like I could fly. This was 2004. So before the boom of internet, finding all this information, and he just kind of did it on my own. And I remember we had an air show, and in the air shows, there's usually on the side, the organizations will have barbecue and everything else. And I remember I brought my celery sticks and I said, I'm going to barbecue this. And everyone's eating this amazing, delicious barbecue chicken and around me. And I'm just like, I gave in. And I wish I'd known because when I gave in, I said, okay, I give up because that was it. Since I had the meat, I was done, I mean, literally from the way you even sweat. I know that sounds weird.
Doesn't I say that all the time?
That's not true.
True.
The way I sweat, I was because I could tell everything changed. And I wish I could go back, but you guys are so inspiring. Do you have all these recipes in your cookbook?
A lot of recipes in the cookbook. And then I have a lot of recipes on YouTube. So there's a bunch of different places that I house recipes. We have a private community that I put my coveted recipes that I hold close and dear to my heart. And then, I
Yeah.
have other recipes that I do videos of and I just show you the whole process. And those are on YouTube. And then, of
Okay.
course, like, one cookbook is all about breakfast because
Yeah.
that's very hard for a lot of people. It was
Yeah.
hard for us in the
Yes.
beginning,
It's very tough.
right? And then one book is all about Nigerian food, actually. So it's completely vegan. So we get to have fun with Nigerian food. And the third book is just a mix of snacks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And so, for our last segment here, you guys obviously have your hands in a lot of different things, which is good. And I mean, these are, when I look at it, the military community, these are things that we can take from our health to leadership, those that are transitioning, people that like me, I don't have a business degree and just trying to work a lot on my media. I mean, it's not cooking, but from the cooking aspect, it's for my family. I'm looking for ways to make life easy. I am from a family of diabetes and high blood pressure. And one of the things I told myself was I would like to be the one to break that cycle and teach my kids how to eat healthy. And I would love to try your cookbook. How do you guys work together and keep your relationship intact? Are there times when you guys totally disagree? And when you do, how do you mitigate that?
Take this one.
Sure.
I think for us in the beginning, after you get married, that was when we were working separate jobs. When we decided to merge and become one in the business every day, and then we're homeschool parents, and we're always together day in, day out. There was a time in our marriage where I didn't know if we were going to make it because we were having issues. We were butting heads. It was really tough. And in those moments, I remember we would have conversation and we're looking at each other like, this could potentially split us up because we're not agreeing, we're butting heads, and we still have to work together. And I think when we decided to seek help, we went to a therapist to help us out. We're like, because we usually get along. We're like, what's going on? I mean, we're not vibing. We need to fix this, right? We need to save our marriage. We went to a therapist, and she actually made it worse. And every time I have the opportunity to speak, I always tell people just because someone has the therapy degree or whatever, that doesn't mean they're qualified to be your therapist. She actually made it worse. And if it wasn't for the connection Eddie and I already had, we were fighting when we went in her office, but we walked away like, Eddie was like, I know you and I are beefing right now, but she was a mess. I'm like, yeah, she was trying to, he was
So it ended up being a blessing in disguise. It
in
was
disguise.
connecting both of you.
But we were like, he had to stand up for me. He was like, she's trying to make you seem like you're mean. Like she was making it worse by giving.
Did you
We
guys interview your
oh my
therapist
God.
or you just landed on one?
We landed on one. We read her reviews online, but that's not enough. To anyone who's listening, you not only have to read the reviews online, you have to kind of go based on recommendation.
Yeah.
Because we would have never thought that somebody who's supposed to be professional, a safe space, became a hellhole. Because I mean,
Sorry that you had to go through that.
but I'm glad in a way because I get to share it. I share it everywhere I go. I'm like, be careful who you choose as your therapist because
Yeah,
that's not
it's
the
very intimate. It's an intimate
Exactly.
relationship, but
Nope.
Exactly. So in that time, it was really tough because at that time we were going through a lot and we needed answers. But I'm so glad because of our relationship and the foundation of our relationship, we were like, okay, so this is not working. Next. So we went to church. And I remember it was in church, this preacher was like, in a relationship, if you want it to work, you have to make a decision. You have to trust that that partner has your back and you have to trust that. And that's it. And you have to have their back, even if they don't have your back yet. So I think in that moment with us, we were like, wait a minute, maybe that's why we're having problems. Like it's almost like tit for tat. You right, I'm wrong, and we're going back and forth. And in that moment, I think we both decided, I'm like, I'm just gonna support you blindly, be there for you, because I know you're gonna do the same for me, even if you haven't done it yet.
mm,
So even if you haven't done it yet, but I know for a fact. So what that does for me, I support with every single molecule in my every single cell in my body is in full support. I'm not thinking, what if he doesn't do the same for me? I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about I need to be here 100 percent for him.
He gave you $500.
And he does the exact same for me. And I'm very happy that that happened in the early stage of our marriage, because even now our kids, they can't even they like, man, I don't know. Even my nine, I think when he was 9, he was like, I hope I find a wife like you, mommy.
Look at him.
I want to have
African man.
so it just made us better friends, and that respect for one another, even when we disagree, because God knows we disagree about hair and food, because there's so many pockets,
different layers, right?
but it's just so simple. I'm like, okay, I don't agree, but if you think it's right, the arguments are non-existent. Like they don't even exist. It's like, okay,
Because you guys are friends. You know
yes,
what? One of the things is you can love your spouse, but not like your spouse. And I think
Yep.
when you don't like your spouse, that's where the danger lies.
Agree.
You know, what's love got to do with it? Is I always tell my kids, I'm like, I love you, but right now I don't like you. Go to your
yes,
room. It's the same. I love my husband and I like him. Like I
yes.
like my husband. That helps with the conversation when you
Yep.
disagree. But you guys make it seem so effortless. Now, what would you, with everything we've talked about, what would you give as parting words from what you've learned that we could take out in our leadership growth, in our family growth and struggles? What lessons would you give? What is Chef and the Wig Maker's mantra?
For me, it's be a ping pong. Like you just get ready to bounce back, because the fall is inevitable. I think nobody goes into business to fail. Nobody goes into a marriage to fail. Nobody goes into any relationship to fail. But I think preparing to bounce back, let your bounce back be so strong that is unshakable. And I'm like,
Mm,
what does that look like? It means I'm not preparing to fail, but I need to have a system that allows me to bounce back regardless. And that means having a routine that makes it really tough for you to stay down. Because I never, like 2 years ago, I lost my mom. I didn't think I'll be down in that road, but I was. And my marriage, not my business, not my confidence, none of that mattered. But my bounce back routine is what brought me back. And when I say a bounce back routine, having a very strong routine that sets you up for success, that
mm,
it's almost like an internal thermostat, so it doesn't get affected by what's happening around you. So when I wake up in the morning, I tap into that happiness automatically. So whether I sell anything, do anything, don't get that contract, somebody, like, it doesn't matter. I can still tap in, and that gives me that joy that helps me to the next minute. That has really helped me through business failures, marriage, stress, children, loss, grief, you name it, because a lot of people don't have that, and they just stay down, and they don't know how to pivot. So
yeah.
that would be my parting gift. Have a routine that helps you bounce back. Wake up in the morning, read your Bible, whatever spiritual thing you do. Make sure you exercise, even if it's for 10 minutes, because that releases happy juice inside you. That's part of your happiness. Read something or listen to something motivational. You'll be surprised, those little 5 minutes will change you. Those three things I don't play with. And then the fourth thing is I write a gratitude list every single morning. My kids do it. My husband, that's like, we don't leave the room until we write down at least three things that we are grateful for. Because I
Mm,
don't know what's going to happen through my day, but at least I can remind myself that I have the gift of life, that I
mhm.
have health.
Your family.
So when I put that in the forefront, I'm kind of ready to tackle whatever else is coming throughout the day.
Such great advice, Chef. What you got? You top that?
I don't know
I
that
felt like
that's like a,
beating the African drum.
seriously, both the ancestors of that one. Like, I mean,
She sure did.
I'm like, what else do I say?
You
But
know,
no,
try to
yeah,
top that. You can't, but we'll give you your
I
space.
appreciate it, Diddy. No, I think what I've really learned is, and this is something that have shown itself even more lately. Motivation is something we can't rely on,
Oh,
because
Mm,
it fizzles off. In a couple hours, in a week, in a month, it's gone, and then you're just left high and dry. So I think planning your life around strategy, having a strategy where regardless of if you're motivated or not, these are the things that I need to do each and every day is what is going to see you through anything that you want to do, right? Because you can't be consistent if you don't have a strategy. Like consistency doesn't work if you're only motivated for a couple times out of the year. Like, it's the beginning of the new year, so people are everyone is focused on and they're motivated, but come next month, it's going to fizzle away. But if you put in place a strategy to keep you going, then June, you're still going to be going, right? Regardless, because you would have lost that momentum and you would have lost that motivation. So planning and strategizing with your partner, I think, is something that we do really well. Like, I mean, we literally have meetings every day after we've done our morning ritual of reading the Bible, writing our gratitude list, working out, getting ready. We're like in the closet, like we find a space and we're just sit down and we're just hashing out, okay, what are we doing today, or just coming up with ideas or just bouncing things off of each other. And by having that strategy, I think that's one of the reasons why we can still do what we do today and make it look easy, right? Because
Yeah.
we're always planning, and we're doing it together. Because, if you're with a partner and you have a business together, then you have to do that. If you don't, that's how you miss things. That's how you lose. So, for me, it's strategy. It's being organized in a way that it allows you to be consistent, right? Because in being consistent is how you excel versus relying on motivation, which dies down at, any given time.
Right. That, I mean, that I never, you think you said that motivation is a lot of people's love language. I'll be honest, that used to be my love language. And my flaw was that motivation was not just about me, it was about somebody else telling me that I was doing a good job. And that was my motivation. And I remember in the beginning years of my leadership growth, if I did not get that every now and then, I saw myself fizzle. So I literally had to grow out of that habit of depending on that rah motivation from somebody else to validate what I was doing, or what needed to be done. So that is having to depend on somebody else motivating me. And I know that was something I had to overcome. So good advice. So see, you had your own little African
Yeah, some.
drum moment. So I want to really thank both of you. I would want to have you guys back on. I will have on my site the links to the Virgin Hair Fantasy, to the Spices Chef that you have, and
Yeah.
your cookbooks. And I'm really going to actually talk to my husband today, and we'll try to figure out a way for this vegan journey. And I'm going to go vegan-ish.
Yeah.
I'll try to get a cookbook. And when I do that, I will come back and try to get that sweatshirt, because that will be
I got you.
my
I got
little,
you.
and it's for free. They're not giving you that. Once I could prove that I have done that at least for a little while, I'm like, you know what? I earned the shirt, and I
That's
would love to
right.
have that. Can
And I
I
want
get
to tell
that in
you,
blue?
yeah, of course.
Yes, it
But
does.
I want to tell you something, just because, you are thinking about it, right? And the most important thing is to not go about it cold turkey. Not, pick breakfast, lunch, or dinner and just make the protein portions smaller. Start
Okay.
by making the meat, the seafood, the poultry, whatever it is, make those smaller. And then one breakfast, just don't do any meat, or one lunchtime, don't do any meat, or one dinner, and just, do those kind of things where you're not shocking your body into, because you've been eating meat for so long that your body is attuned to it and it craves it when you don't eat it,
Yeah.
right? So for us now, it's like we don't miss it. We remember the taste, and we're familiar and we love those things because that's what we did.
Yeah.
But to say, oh, I wish I had a steak or a chicken roast, whatever, like that's not the case anymore, just because of the time frame that we haven't done it for so long. So I say this to say, just slowly introduce your body into not eating meat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know what I mean? One day of the week, don't do any meat, or breakfast, one lunch. And with that, it makes it easier for you to be more plant-based. And you can be plant-based, because plant-based doesn't mean that you're 100% vegan. You could be 50% plant-based. You could be 60%, whatever it is. Just The goal is to have more vegetables
On
on
your
your
plate.
plate.
When you said homestead, I'm like, you got my number.
I told my husband, I said, when he retires from the military, because obviously he's not retired, I said, my dream will be to have my own chickens, my own
Yeah.
everything. Now he laughs because he's like, Didi, you know, who's going to do all that work? Because he knows I don't like bugs. I don't do dirt. And it's like, it's like an irony that I
Yeah.
want that life, but I
Yeah.
don't necessarily want to kind of do the dirt. So but I'm going to be 50. You get older, you want to be wiser, and your body is not breaking down things like it
Yeah.
used to in your 20s. So you
Exactly.
definitely want to adapt and change your habit, So both of you have been such great motivators. So to the power couple, Jane, Ed, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
It's
Thank
important.
you both for being on here. And thank you, listeners out there, for tuning in to the Vetly podcast, Vetly Speaking podcast. We really appreciate you guys being on. And please subscribe on YouTube. And I'll have all the information from the wig queen, peruca queen, Jane, and Chef Ed. So until next time, take care of each other. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But